All right, everybody, this is well written today. It's a little bit different, but it is what I feel needs to be said. So here we go. Real talk. How real compassion and wild manhood is the cure for the madness we're being drawn in by boy leaders who never grow up. All right. It is what it is. Democracy's basically gone. Genocide has been normalized. The madmen are stepping forward to play their vicious games. And our systems and institutions are unable and unwilling to deal with the onslaught of the technocratic delusion and the destruction of the social fabric. Those are just facts, awarenesses, or points of view that currently create our reality. Take it as you will. Now we can chant and ask questions and ask and pray and do rituals and magic and do whatever technique we think works and has worked in the past. And we ought to do that, and by all means, please do it and include art, philosophy, creativity, sports, nature, and throw away your television and maybe turn off the Wi Fi and walk into the woods and talk to the animals and make love to your lovers and talk with friends and do what you need to do to keep a semblance of sanity going in the madness that we are. And be clear and open and honest and direct where we are. Basically, choose something different because choose creates change, as a wise woman said once. Stop the denialism of the New Age, which is a toxic brand at this point, and of the Zionist madness and Christian Zionist versions of it, and all the ridiculous, outdated, sick ideologies that have reared up their ugly heads to give the darkness that has its last chance to go all in a spring word for the showdown. And yes, there are timelines to choose, and there's always better to choose the lighter one daily and every 10 seconds. And it's good to be aware and not to try to exercise awareness of the actual state of things. For that will only create monsters, gives demons the legal right to mess with you and do all kinds of psychological machinations that the soul will not tolerate. You can understand this psychologically or spiritually or both or neither or beyond it. I don't really care. The point is that the truth as energy cannot be pushed down or hidden or exercised or manipulated or hushed aside. The body keeps the score. Nature will restore balance. Karma is mechanical and always comes back to quote unquote haunt us and hunt us sometimes. It's not really how it works, but it's a metaphor. And you can call it guilty conscience. Excuse me. And you can call it guilty conscience or the voice of the demon or whatever you like. The fact is, fear and trembling are on a full-on spike. So today I woke up with a solution or a technique or a poetic mantraing. Today is real talk. And becoming aware of what is up and sitting with the gravity of the situation and deciding how one would address it. For as a wise brother said, men's circles that don't include physical altercation or ritual combat are basically glorified self-help support groups, which are needed and required. And I actually do hold healing circles and will continue to do and inspire and invite it, so I'm not discounted that. But they're not initiatory spaces for men. They are men's circles light, like the wise men said. And they're as good as they can be for a first stage, but they're merely urgent medicine for acute problems. If we want to raise higher, we need to include the body. And I'm not talking about knives and swords and guns and all that. I'm not a Shaolin monk or a warrior, but I do honor and respect them tremendously. I'm not qualified to speak on that, and I don't think paramilitaries with no compassion, awareness, or connection to the creator are something to be encouraged. It is a quite dangerous things to play with. Vigilantes can be very fucking dangerous, especially when on low level of consciousness. But I do think, for men at last, we need to include the body. Be it strength training, martial arts, CrossFit, or whatever works. For as a wise brother said, when I fight my brother in ritual combat, I know I can trust them with my wife and children when I need to leave, paraphrased. And that's a whole different level of trust and brotherhood. And I aim to go for that. So this is not a solution, but I'm pretty sure if our leaders have circles that include compassion, great prayer, dance, and more compassion, they could not be doing what they're doing. And if we had those circles, we would not, could not, and will not allow them to do what they do. This is a working theory. I have no idea how it can be brought into physical reality yet, but I think I'm on the right track. A warrior was not given a sword until he could dance in Celtic culture. A knight had to recite poetry, genealogies, and epics and pray daily before he was allowed to go on a quest. A berserker chanted and sat around the fire for years before he was allowed to go on a rampage. We need to bring back the old ritual initiations in a modern way that works for modern problems. This is not something new. It has been prophesied by greats like Bly for decades. We're just living the sad consequences of the poetic prophecies. What can we do to turn this around? And where are courage, joy, compassion, and strength and honor to be found? This is a good question to start with. May strength, honor, sanctified by love, be a good enough reason for any sacrifice you're called to make. I love you. Someone who does his best. Someone who does his best daily so he can one day call himself a man, which is not a small thing. Samo Bohak. Love you all. Start today. Bye bye.